People are becoming more and more interested in longevity and not just living longer, but feeling better longer. Other brands to recognize this really important role that they can play, not just in running a successful business and creating these opportunities for people to come together, but how important that is for your local neighborhood, for your community, for your city, to create spaces that people can really show up and belong, but then also complement it with these biohacking treatments, which of course are just becoming more and more popular, and not popular, I think as a fad, but popular because they're effective.
Hi guys, on today's episode we have Morgan Thomas. Morgan is the Chief Brand Officer at Sweat and Tonic, which is a luxury boutique fitness studio in Toronto. Morgan shares about how her background in interior design has translated into leadership at such an influential fitness studio. She had so much insight to share about the future of the wellness industry and where she sees it headed. I loved this conversation, and I think you will too. All right, Morgan Thomas, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I was just saying before we started rolling that Sweat and Tonic is, to me, just such a trend-setting brand in the fitness space. So to be able to sit down with the Chief Brand Officer is just such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very excited to chat all things Sweat and Tonic today, and even just dive into more of the fitness and wellness scene. I'd love to hear from your perspective what you're seeing out there these days too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I feel like I've been telling everyone while I've been in Toronto. And I feel like I'm just like fluffing everyone's feathers. But Toronto to me is such an underrated leading wellness scene. Mm-hmm. Like I find people don't know how many things are started here. And like whenever I come and visit, I just find there's so many new things that I don't even see, when I'm in LA or New York.
Yeah, it feels like it happened really quickly.
Yes.
Especially after the pandemic, you would think that it would take a while to kind of get those things back up and running.
Right.
And of course, just like any other city during the pandemic, we had an unfortunate loss in a lot of studios. So it's been really, really exciting to see a whole resurgence of the fitness and wellness scene. And the community here is so dedicated and so amped to support. So that's definitely a game changer.
Yeah, I feel like it really came back, especially here, like with a vengeance, especially. I feel like Sweat and Tonic really leads the charge on a lot of things in terms of, just you guys are a really strong brand and you kind of came back so strong. I think it paved the way for a lot of other brands to do the same thing.
Yeah, appreciate that. It definitely was not easy, an easy few years. The pandemic happened and we shut down about 16 weeks after we opened. So challenging to kind of keep things rolling. Yeah, after all of that. And as you may or may not know, Toronto was probably Toronto was I think the city that was shut down the longest in North America.
Wow.
If not one of the longest in the world. Wow. So kind of bouncing back and forth between that for the fitness industry, but also just the hospitality industry as a whole was really tricky. So just getting creative in how we pivot and how we've kept our community engaged was a big factor for us in sort of the longevity so far.
I bet. So that was, you said 16 weeks after your first location opening.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long was it closed?
Oh my goodness. I want to say we were closed at first. Of course, everyone said it was going to be just a couple of weeks.
Right.
It was at least a few months. I want to say it was like late summer that we reopened.
Okay.
And even at that point, it was very limited capacity.
Right. Restrictions. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We made a lot of facility upgrades to make sure that we were keeping people safe, not just following the sort of status quo policies per usual. We like to go above and beyond in every way we can. And then we had to shut down again a couple months later. And it went back and forth like that quite a few times. I want to say we reopened 3 or 4 times.
I was going to say it probably went on for about 18 months, right?
It was a very long time. I remember even one year, we even opened an outdoor studio. I want to say 2021, Sweat on the Roof opened. So even during that time we were shut, that was in the summer.
Okay.
And then we were able to reopen the studio, and then we had to shut down again that following January, if I remember correctly, because there was another wave.
Okay.
And then reopened. So yes, it was just, I like to say we have a little bit of like, that's a gray area we don't we don't need to like talk about all of that.
Yeah.
The dates and everything gets sort of fuzzy because it was just...
Oh, it's a blur.
It is a blur because it was, so challenging. And also, there was just so much going on. You're trying so hard to keep not only your community engaged and involved, but also your team. You're trying to be there to support your team who's obviously going through this really challenging time also. So,
of course.
Yeah.
So for those that aren't familiar with Sweat and Tonic, to say you're a boutique fitness studio is such an understatement. How do you describe?
Sure. So the easiest way to describe Sweat and Tonic is a fitness and wellness hub.
Okay.
So we really bring together the best of fitness and wellness under one roof. So for people that are familiar with the boutique industry, especially people that are familiar with things like ClassPass, it's easy to sort of describe that we brought all of those places that you like to hop around to on ClassPass under one facility.
Okay.
So we have spin, yoga, and HIIT all in one studio.
Wow.
So our ride studio at our latest location, we have 2 locations in Toronto.
Right.
Our ride studio at our latest location has 75 bikes. So it's the largest in Canada, if not one of the largest in North America.
Yes.
And our HIIT and yoga studios also have 60 spots, 48 spots, 50 spots, depending on location.
Yes.
So also quite large.
Right.
So we offer just the biggest and the best of everything under one roof. The most spots, the most number of classes, the best instructors from across Canada, and everything you could ever dream of.
Absolutely. And that's what, obviously I'm biased because one of my best friends is one of your instructors.
Sure, yeah.
But truly, when you go to a class, I think it's one thing to, have the most number of spots available. It's another to be able to truly make a large class like that feel like such an intimate experience, which you do so well.
Yeah.
I've been to spin, I've been to Pilates, hot Pilates, and then you recently opened Reformed, which is that the largest Legree studio in North America?
Is, yes.
I've never experienced anything like that. And
it's wild.
What I told Megan afterwards was the fact that it's the largest studio you've ever been in with the most number of reformers, but the way it's been designed with the reformers on the 2 platforms for the instructor to use, I felt like it was easier to follow the instructor than ever before. Because usually they're not on their own reformer, so it's hard to kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah. So the role that the spatial design has played for our brand has been huge. So that's actually, my background is in interior design. So that's how I started working with the brand. But it's been such an interesting challenge and sort of problem to solve for. I think a lot of studio owners and even guests didn't realize that it was an issue.
Right.
But when you look at the space, it doesn't typically facilitate great classes, great guest experience, or community. A lot of studios are just sort of in and out. You barely even talk to other people, maybe not even the instructor really.
Right.
So giving the instructors like at Reformed an opportunity to be on this platform and make sure that they're visible to guests so guests have better clarity during the class. Also the instructors can see the guests and have better engagement with them. It also helps in Reformed specifically, where it is the largest Reformed studio, the largest Legree studio in the world. Cutting the space in half by adding that platform in the middle all of a sudden takes the capacity sort of visually down by half. Which
I was going to say, it like doubles your space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned your background was in interior design. How did you get involved with Sweat and Tonic?
Sure. So Sweat and Tonic was founded by David Ingram, who has a background in finance, but has been a huge fitness and wellness guru enthusiast for many years. So in Toronto, he was busy traveling around from different studios across the city, doing yoga here, doing, hot HIIT there, and also, trying to run a business basically. So he had this great idea of sort of combining everything in one space. So it originally started with the idea of a spin and a yoga studio and a bar, and then sort of evolved to also include HIIT. It evolved to include workspace. It evolved to include some wellness offerings. So at our original location, we have some biohacking treatments now, some infrared saunas. And at the new location, we have a massive spa called Tonic Spa.
Okay.
So I first got involved with David because I was working at an interior design and architecture firm in Vancouver called Cutler.
Okay.
And was leading the fitness division there. So I had worked with a lot of great brands from across Canada. David and his team basically found Cutler, so started working with them to design what this space might look like and really imagine what the brand could be. And he had this great vision of bringing, all of these great things under one roof.
Right.
And one of the things that we had talked about was really missing in a lot of the spaces that I'd, designed in the past or, had found works really well in the success of a business is these community spaces. Mm-hmm. So we've always been very intentional in the design of the space that it incorporates these little pockets of opportunities for people to kind of come together.
No, absolutely. And you feel that when you walk into the space. It's not somewhere people just come to work out. It's truly their, what they call their third space.
Yes.
They walk in, everyone knows each other to some degree. They're used to, so many people have a bag with them with their laptop in it. They're hanging out, grabbing a bite to eat, a smoothie, a matcha after their workout. And did you mention he wanted to incorporate a bar in the beginning?
Yes.
Is there a bar now?
There is. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hence the Sweat and Tonic.
Right. Well, I'm like, I guess we don't really drink when I'm here because we're always so like, go, go, go.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I think in the beginning, I think it's less of a factor now. The tonic has sort of evolved from being the bar component to being tonic bar, the cafe, to being tonic spa, the wellness space, to sort of being more of that elixir, that tonic, that, that wellness factor.
Absolutely.
That so nicely complements the sweat aspect.
Absolutely. So is David still the thought leader in where the brand is going? And is it by, him getting into biohacking that made you all want to bring the infrared heat in and the red light and all of that?
Yeah, I think it's he's definitely from the beginning always had this exceptional ability to dream and sort of have this vision. And he's very much in tune with the industry and where it's going. But it's also been a great team effort. I think especially coming from an interior design background, I'm so used to working with people in such a collaborative way. When you're building a space, you can't do it on your own. You need all of your different engineers. You need, your architect. You need your construction team. So to be able to really see something through successfully, it takes a lot of different people and their areas of expertise. So that's been really nice. And I think biohacking was something that the team identified pretty early on. Even when we were designing the first location, we had talked about some treatments there. And even incorporating things like the infrared saunas was helpful for the recovery aspect. But when we were looking at taking more space, the thing that just stood out as a nice complement to the sweat, and the fitness opportunities or areas, wellness just really stood out. And to have this recovery hub where you can get a massage, you can get a facial, you can get these high touch treatments, but then also complement it with these biohacking treatments, which of course are just becoming more and more popular and not popular I think as a fad, but popular because they're effective and because because people are becoming more and more interested in longevity and not just living longer, but feeling better longer.
Absolutely.
So these other things that you can work into your routine, I think, make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. We were actually at the tonic spa yesterday.
Nice.
We got massages.
Amazing.
And then just spent some time in the pool and sauna area. And it was so nice. Once again, we ran into a friend we didn't even expect to see. And in talking to them, obviously I live in Florida, so it doesn't come up as much. But especially in the winters, it's so important, like these practices, especially of having contrast therapy and heat. The infrared light helps so much with any kind of, seasonal depression some people might start to feel, or just like when the days are so short and there's not as much sunlight. Getting into a sauna, getting into a red light is so helpful, not just for their physical health, but for their mental health.
Yes, agreed. It makes such a big difference. I think especially in the city, we really wanted to design a space that feels like an oasis.
Yes.
So, when you come into the pool space, it's dark, you sort of this warm light, there's this glow from the sauna, and it it's a big space, but it feels intimate.
Yes.
And it feels like you can sort of have the experience that you want, whether that's sort of your own internal sort of mindful moment or whether it's something more social with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of lends itself to both of those journeys.
Absolutely. You struck a really nice balance, Megan and I were talking about, because it is, we had originally planned to spend the whole day there and just have a whole spa day. And the space is perfectly curated for that. Or you can come in, get one treatment, do one thing, get ready and leave. Like, it feels very well suited for either of those journeys, which I think is a tough feat to strike. I think most spas feel like it feels like a hotel spa where you're doing the whole day and it's this like huge production, or it's more of an in and out salon experience.
Yes.
And Tonic Spa really meets you in the middle and just feels, like you said, warm, cozy. It's like dark enough that like if I don't want to talk to anybody, it doesn't feel like I have to. Or if I do meet a friend, it's like perfectly normal for us to be like talking and, gabbing, that kind of thing.
I'm so glad that you had that experience. It's so challenging, I think, as a designer and, as someone that's trying to shape and push the brand.
Yeah.
You can strategize as much as you want, but until people actually get in it and use it. So it's really encouraging to hear that was the experience that you had.
So you led the interior design project as, an agency, but then you were brought on as the GM, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What initiated that change? Because that's did you ever expect to make that kind of career shift?
No, I did not. And I was very happy at the firm, at Cutler. I loved the team there. Had such an incredible experience and just learned so much while I was there. We were talking a little bit before we started recording that I had moved from New York to Vancouver and was working with some firms there, and just kind of gotten to the West Coast and kind of fell into an opportunity at Cutler and felt like I had an opportunity there to really help and grow the firm there also. So this background of kind of being eager to help things grow, I realized is a bit of a pattern. But we were under construction at Sweat and Tonic at the time.
Okay.
And I got a call from David. We were just going to touch base on some construction things. And I knew that he had been looking for a GM.
Okay.
The last time I was in Toronto to visit the site, he had actually asked if I could come and sit in on some interviews that he was having for GMs. We'd been working together for a long time, I think it was about 1.5 years at this point to design the space.
So he had just built trust in you and he wanted your opinion on things.
Exactly. Yeah. So he called and we were chatting about construction, and then he said, I'm about to board a flight to Milan, but I did want to chat with you about one more thing. I found the perfect GM. And I said, okay. He said, there's one problem. They're in Vancouver.
Okay.
And I said, okay, thinking in my head, do you want me to meet them for lunch? And I think I asked him something along those lines, and he kind of laughed and he said, no, it's you. And I just sort of laughed. And then I said, let me just step into a meeting room for a moment because we have an open office.
Right.
So just sort of continued the conversation and basically said, I'm so flattered, but that's not really what I do.
Right.
And over the course of, I want to say it was probably at least, another month or so of conversations back and forth, we sort of realized that between the two of us, we had really solid skill set and, we could kind of make this thing happen. So it was really interesting to sort of jump into the operations side of a business that I was already so close to, having, been involved with designing and dreaming it up from the get-go. And also, I think my experience working with lots of other fitness brands and hospitality and retail brands gave me some insight into the industry on the operations side.
Okay.
And translated a lot more easily than I would have thought.
Really?
Yeah. I think I sort of mentioned before this collaborative aspect of architecture and design, where, you're sort of the strategy engine, sort of deciding all of these little directions and nuances to take with the space. But then in order to make it really happen, you have to get different experts together in one room rowing in the same direction.
Absolutely.
And that was a lot of what starting Sweat and Tonic was like.
Yeah.
I didn't have a formal background in fitness. I didn't teach classes. I didn't have a formal background in, wellness services or, running a cafe or a bar or things like that. So really making sure that we were bringing the best people into the team and working together, in a really positive way to build this dream.
Right.
Didn't feel that unfamiliar. And if anything, it actually felt very exciting, and it felt like something that came naturally because I was passionate about it, I guess.
Yes, I resonate with that a lot. I have a wellness center in South Florida, and I played a big part in, working with the interior designer that, an architect that laid out our office. And at the time I was our GM, and now I lead our marketing and brand. So, my background was in advertising and marketing, so not interior design. But as you're saying that, I'm like, absolutely, we have to think about the operation of the process of the business when we're building things out to make sure
100%.
The client is flowing properly through the space. We have to think about marketing and how, the space represents our brand or doesn't in the ways that we need it to. We have to make sure from a sales perspective, when somebody walks in, you have that aha moment of, I want to be part of this place. I want to come here often. So it's like you do have to consider every part of the business when you're designing a space.
100%.
I'm sure you were more immersed than people would even think as the interior designer.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and all very good ones. And it's really interesting to hear that was sort of your experience also, because I do think sometimes people hear interior design and they think, oh, we we picked some furniture and placed some lights or something. And I think there's definitely an aspect of interior design that includes those things.
Right.
But commercial interior design is essentially more so interior architecture.
Yeah.
So you're really thinking about, when we got the space, it was a big empty box.
Right.
So, where are all the walls going?
Right.
Coordinating with the mechanical engineer to lay out the HVAC systems and, lighting design and all of these other, the custom millwork pieces and every finish that goes into the space. So it's, it's really considering the flow of the space, the end user, both the guests and, as you mentioned, the team. If the team isn't supported and isn't able to deliver a great product, the guests aren't going to have a great experience either. So yeah, there are a lot of factors that go into designing the physical space. And as you mentioned, if you don't know who you are as a brand yet, if you haven't had an existing location, developing that space is really laying the foundation of who you are as a brand and the experience that guests are going to have with your brand.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
What has the evolution of your roles, because you went from interior designer to GM. You mentioned earlier you took a break from work for mat leave. And before you left and as you've come back, now you're the chief brand officer. What has this evolution taught you about growth and leadership in the workplace as a whole?
Yeah, those are great questions. The chief brand officer role sort of came to fruition as we were growing. So we had the first location opened. During the pandemic, we had launched all these virtual platforms, Sweat Live, which are these live stream classes, Sweat on Demand, this pre-recorded platform. We launched Sweat on the Roof on the rooftop of the Eaton Center parking garage in downtown Toronto, which was this whole outdoor studio, which was amazing. And then we were under construction for our second location at the Well here in Toronto, which was going to be 10,000 square feet bigger than our first.
Wow.
And just realizing how involved I needed to be in the design and the construction piece, and that running everything, operations, the fitness, the wellness, I was overseeing everything was getting to be a little too much for one person to do everything well when I needed to be involved to the degree necessary on the design and construction piece.
So you still lead design as GM and now CBO?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've always worked with outside design teams and engineers and whatnot. But it's tricky because if they haven't done fitness projects before, it's a big learning curve. And it sounds silly, it sounds simple. Maybe, it's because a lot of gyms just put equipment in the space and kind of cut the ribbon and call it open, right? And that's totally fine. That works for a lot of brands. That's not who Sweat and Tonic is as a brand. That's not the experience that we're striving to deliver. I remember one of the first weeks that we were open at our first location, I was working at the front desk with our team, and 2 people came in and came up to the reception desk and said, "Hi, we'd like a room." And I said, "I'm sorry, did you book a sauna room?" And they're like, "What? No, this is a hotel, right? We want a room." And we all kind of chuckled. And I said, "I'm so sorry. This is not a hotel. This is actually a fitness and wellness studio." And they sort of looked around and they were like, "What?" Like, they were so confused. And that memory just sort of sticks out to me because it was such a good example of how and why Sweat and Tonic is different. We really, from the beginning, even in designing the space, really wanted to take this hospitality approach to fitness and wellness. And so I think it's so evident when you walk in the doors, or I hope it's evident, that it's a little bit different, that we've really raised the bar for the industry. So yeah, I think just taking that approach has been a big differentiator for us.
Yeah. How has the vision changed from when you started to now?
Yeah. So it's changed in a lot of ways, I think, but also it's still very much the same. So I think, as you know, as a business owner, you probably have one vision before you open, and then people get in it. And the community kind of tells you what they want.
Yes,
right?
They do.
And in some ways you want to stick to your guns and protect your brand. But in other ways, you want to make sure that you are being flexible enough to deliver what they really want, or sort of hone in on what you can provide to them.
Yes. The way I always look at it is be open-minded enough to change, but be grounded enough in your vision to understand when someone else's opinion is not aligned with yours.
I love that.
Because if you took everyone's input, you start, and I've made this mistake in the past, you start becoming this master of all, or jack of all trades and master of none. So, for our business, for example, it was like, we should have fitness classes in there. We have a fitness space. It's like, what if we did fitness classes? That would be a great community aspect. What if, we offer, we had an aesthetics department for a long time. And not that that was the wrong decision. It was just, you start to, as a leader, be spread a little bit too thin. And I felt myself becoming incapable of doing what I do best, not as well as I I've been able to in the past. But also listen to, feedback from clientele when they say, you should have more robes available. You have them available in these certain spots, and it would be great if they were available in this spot as well. That's an easy update to make.
Right.
And it's going to enhance their experience. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we listen to that? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. Yeah. So I think that's been a big part of how we've evolved, is just by having those great conversations with guests and listening to their feedback.
Right.
And I think another good way of looking at it is, everyone gets a say, but not everyone gets a vote.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talk about a lot is just being numbers and data driven, for better or for worse, But I think it's really important to look at the numbers because they speak volumes, especially about what your guests want.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the biggest numbers that we look at is attendance, because that tells us what class styles, what instructors, what rooms our community is gravitating towards. And that's the easiest way that they can cast their vote for what they want more or less of, right? So yeah, just looking at sort of the ways that we've evolved, I would say that in the beginning, we had all these different ideas about what types of classes we could offer.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of specific things that have evolved that I can maybe share examples of that would be easy to understand, even not having been here from the beginning. Well, here's a good example. So when we first opened, we had all of these great class names that we thought were really great and kind of fun and sort of would be kind of cheeky for people to say that they were going to.
Okay.
Like, for example, we had a class called Rock the Bells,
Okay.
which was a HIIT style class that was strength training and involved like a lot of free weights, a lot of dumbbells.
Okay.
And it was sort of like lifting to the beat of the music. So it was a music driven strength training class, essentially.
Okay.
We also had a class called 3D, which involved boxing, weights, and treadmills in our HIIT studio.
Okay.
Great classes, great programming, great instructors, what we thought were really cool names.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, what we realized, especially as we grew and we got past those first few months of just sort of introducing everyone at the same time to these different offerings, especially having 3 studios under one roof and lots of classes and lots of offerings for everyone to digest, we realized pretty quickly that these names weren't really resonating with guests and they were confusing, for lack of a better term.
I was going to say they were confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of pivoting and changing the names to just being more straightforward. So now Rock the Bells is Lift Hit and 3D is Box Hit. And, just sort of sticking, we had a great Pilates style class in the HIIT studio, which, we knew would resonate so much with people because our Pilates classes were just going crazy in the yoga studio, right? With the mat Pilates. So as soon as we changed the name to Pilates HIIT, all of a sudden it resonates and makes more sense. And so you sort of, again, those attendance numbers, when you can look at not just what you feel in your gut is going to work, but then you can look at the data behind it, then you can kind of make better decisions about how to go forward.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So can we talk about you guys are planning your 3rd studio, right?
We are, yeah.
What's the biggest learning you've taken from your first 2 that you're applying at your 3rd studio?
Mm-hmm. That's a great one. I think one of the biggest learnings has been how important it is to continue to push ourselves.
Okay.
So it would have been very easy to open the first location and said, wow, this is, this is already light years above what your typical studio is doing.
Right.
Again, very biased. And I know there are a lot of like beautiful studios out there, but would have been very easy to just copy and paste that and replicate it. But we want to continue to not just push ourselves, but push the industry and raise the bar in terms of what guests can expect, not just from Sweat and Tonic, but hopefully like raise the bar for the industry and the community as a whole. So I think just looking at what is coming in terms of industry trends and new technologies, like we mentioned, biohacking, new services, just seeing what we can do to make the experience even better.
Okay. So
especially being this next location is in Yorkville, which if you're not from Toronto is like the prestigious neighborhood.
It's a beautiful neighborhood.
In Toronto. It's stunning.
Yeah.
We're right across the street from the Four Seasons. It's a beautiful neighborhood, like great walkable area. So we really want to make sure always that we are delivering the Sweat and Tonic experience, but in a way that honors the local neighborhood and the architecture of the building. So our 2 locations currently, while they both feel like Sweat and Tonic when you walk in the door, feel quite different when you're in them.
Yes.
And this one will be the same.
Okay.
So it will still have everything that our community knows and loves about Sweat and Tonic, but also what they've come to expect are these new little surprise and delight moments.
Right.
These new little ways to level up their fitness and wellness routine, and hopefully be a beautiful reflection of the neighborhood that we're in.
I love that. How do you see the boutique fitness industry as a whole evolving over the next few years?
I think experience is going to continue to be incredibly important, and even more so. I think that the clientele, just their expectations are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so I think to be successful, you're really going to have to think about the whole customer journey from before they even arrive. How do they first engage with your brand? What's their first impression of it? Is it from a friend who told them all about it and they had a great experience? Is it from, your Instagram page or a podcast or whatnot? And then all the way to after they leave, how are you following up with them? How are you staying engaged? How are you, incorporating events or introducing them to new products and brands that will sort of also support that fitness and wellness lifestyle?
Right.
I think it just sort of goes, it's really going beyond this traditional fitness regimen where it's just, this is kind of a stop in my day. This is now, as you mentioned earlier, really this third space between work and home, where people come to have connection and community and also engage with something that they're really passionate about.
Absolutely. Well, I think now, especially in this like post-pandemic world, so many people work either remote or hybrid roles. So many people, say in the cafe, maybe meeting with a coworker or a client, or, just working remotely from that space to be able to have some of that human interaction because they don't go into the office as often as they used to. And yeah, like you said, I think it's just in all the major cities, the boutique fitness industry, we've really gotten away from, everyone having an LA Fitness membership and that being your gym box checked. Whereas now I think it is so much more common to have a few different, whether it's packages or membership types, and have really elevated experiences across the board. So
100%.
Yeah, I think especially like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if whether it's a tonic, will there be a tonic spa in the Yorkville location?
TBD.
TBD. Okay. Whatever is there, I'm sure you'll be raising the bar with the offerings that you offer.
Yeah.
Even more. Okay, so speaking of the industry as a whole, is there one trend in particular that really excites you?
Oh my goodness. One trend that really excites me. I think just this idea of creating spaces that are intentional and for, industry leaders, but anyone coming into the industry, I want them to recognize their opportunity to really create a community space.
Okay.
Like you mentioned some other great brands earlier that have started in Toronto. And just the community here as a whole, I think has been phenomenal at supporting the fitness and wellness brands that are here. And I think part of that is because we give them the space to show up for themselves, to show up for each other, to show up for us. So I want other brands to recognize this really important role that they can play, not just in running a successful business and creating these opportunities for people to come together, but how important that is for your local neighborhood, for your community, for your city, to create spaces that people can really show up and belong at. And that can be done, it doesn't have to be done in, in a way that compromises your bottom line. It can be done in really thoughtful, intentional ways, just through strategic design and just being intentional with some of the decisions that you're making. One example that I'll give is when I was living in New York, I joined a local gym that was in the Upper East Side, and it wasn't anything special, some cardio equipment upstairs and a big weight room downstairs, your classic space. And when I was moving, I had to provide a notarized letter to show that I was, to actually cancel my gym membership. And it was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And to sign up, I was taken into this like little sales office room where you're like sold this different package, have to negotiate back and forth to get a price that you can actually afford. I think there's always been this, for lack of a better term, this like used car salesman sort of mentality or expectation in gyms. And I think that we can do so much better.
Yes.
So that's also one thing that we've been really passionate about at Sweat and Tonic is just cutting through this like red tape and these crazy expectations that the industry has set out in terms of like how you sign up and how you cancel and the different ways that you can show up or bring guests.
Right.
So we've never had any sort of like long annual contracts. You can sign up just via credits and come as many times as you want. On your own time, you can sign up for an unlimited membership and come an actual unlimited number of times in a month. It's really easy to cancel or freeze your membership if you need to. It's just, I think, taking the friction out of the experience.
Yeah.
Also just, again, sort of makes the overall experience obviously better.
Yeah.
But then also perpetuates that community because people have a good feeling about where they are and where they're spending their time and how they're spending their money.
Yeah, I love that. Are there any brands that you look to for inspiration when designing the space and leading the business?
I think it changes constantly.
Yeah.
But in general, definitely hospitality spaces. So I think we're also seeing a huge boom in wellness hospitality.
Yes, we are.
Some beautiful wellness retreats coming. There's actually some that I've seen that are coming in Southwest Florida, which is pretty exciting. Yes, we'll have to chat about those.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, I think it's just very cool to see how wellness is evolving. And again, sort of those traditional basement weight rooms seem like something of the past, hopefully.
Yes.
And we're kind of moving into this new era of where fitness and wellness is really a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's more at the forefront.
Yeah, I love that.
I think also incorporating, you mentioned, sitting at the cafe and plugging in and catching up with a coworker or something. A big part of the offering at Sweat and Tonic is also the Tonic House space, which is a co-working space.
Okay.
So if you sign up with an unlimited membership, that's included in your membership is access to this co-working lounge.
Okay.
Which is maybe you didn't see that that's also where the bar is.
Got it. That's why I missed it.
So that's also a great space for events, panel discussions and brands to launch new products. And again, just a great way to engage with our audience.
Yeah.
And for our guests to engage with each other. But yeah, I think that's going to become more prominent too. I think everyone's realizing that this third place is very important. It's been talked about for a long time.
Yes.
And I think a lot of retail brands were trying to kind of be that. But I think fitness has a really unique opportunity,
yes.
To be able to go and work somewhere from the day where you can take a break to go do a yoga class and go do a red light therapy session and then take a call and catch up with some of your friends over a smoothie in between, that's what a dream day.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what Megan and I said yesterday, we had like a dream day yesterday.
Yeah.
We went and grabbed a matcha. We both sat down, answered emails for an hour, which made us just like feel lighter because we didn't have this thing hanging over our head. As both business owners, we were just like, it would actually make us feel a lot better if we just sat down and did some work so that we didn't have like a rush on Monday morning of trying to get everything done.
100%.
And then went and did our workout and then got massages, hung out in the hot tub, went back and forth between the pool for an hour, and then went and picked up her daughter, which was, we were like, this is our ideal day.
Yes.
It truly is.
Yeah, that's so great. I love to hear that. And I think it's part of this just fitness and wellness lifestyle.
Yes.
That we've been talking about, and it goes back to also this work-life balance where it's like, I think it's less of a cut and dry hours, especially after the pandemic. But now people are just used to working more fluidly.
Absolutely.
And I think spaces like this are really important to facilitate that.
Absolutely. So speaking of lifestyle, you are a new mom.
Yeah.
How has your relationship with being a leader at work changed and just your balance in life as a whole?
Yeah. It's definitely been a shift.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I thought going into, being pregnant and going into mat leave, there's this magical year-long mat leave and parental leave program here in Canada, which is phenomenal.
So say Canada things.
Yes, Canada things. Yeah, we could use some more of that, I think. But yeah, I think going into that, I thought this is going to be so nice. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. I was, had been working since I was like literally 8 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So, usually multiple jobs.
Okay.
So going into it, I thought this is going to be great. This is going to be this like break, just this magical time. And it was definitely a magical time. But I didn't realize how much I would miss work.
Yeah.
I think especially something that you've been involved with since the beginning, since before the beginning. So, when you're involved with dreaming it up and you're involved with, getting to know all of the team members and all of the community members. And you're so, as I imagine you can relate.
Yes.
Just so attached to it. And so it sort of felt like, Sweat and Tonic was also a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And so taking time away from that baby to take care of my new baby was a bit of a shift, but it was good. It was nice to sort of take a step back and have some time for reflection. Not that I had a lot of downtime, to be fair. Mom life is a busy life, but yeah, it's been interesting. I don't know that anyone could have really told me that beforehand. I think it's just something you kind of have to go through and experience yourself.
They couldn't have told you which part, that how much you would have missed it?
Yeah, like they couldn't really tell. I don't think no one can really tell you what your mat leave or your time becoming a first-time parent, what that experience will be like.
Because how it'll move you.
Yeah, because I think it's just unique for everyone.
Yeah.
I think, and coming back to work, I think there's always that question of, will I enjoy being back at work or will I really just miss being with my child,
Right.
and both of those things can be true.
I was going to say, and I imagine both are true.
Both are true.
Simultaneously.
Yes.
Like all the time, right?
Both are true. For me, I've definitely learned that I really enjoy being back at work. I feel like I show up as a better mom for her.
Yeah.
I had a mom that worked and had her own business, and that was always something that I think made a really positive impact on me.
Right.
But, you know, I think no two journeys are the same. And I think just like we talked about in business, things evolve and shift and grow. And I think that's okay too. But it's been a really interesting learning experience for me.
I love that. How has it shifted your approach to your own wellness?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just time.
Yeah.
You know, Megan and I have talked about this quite a bit, how your morning routine just looks a little bit different now. So it was funny, during mat leave, I felt like I spent so much time at Sweat and Tonic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she
As a guest.
As a guest. Honestly, like such an ideal new mom facility, especially with Tonic Spa.
Really?
And I guess I shouldn't say I spent so much time there because I was mostly at home with my daughter, but she wouldn't wake up until 7 or 7:30, and so I could go and do a 6 a.m. workout. So yeah, I think my fitness and wellness routine has just shifted in that it's fitting into the pockets of time that I have available now versus before I just had more time.
Right.
So I'm just more thoughtful with it. You know, like my gua sha lives in the shower now versus, you know, having this whole little like morning moment. I think it's just a little bit more of that habit stacking and biohacking versus having big swaths of time to bask in it.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. My last question, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about building both a really strong brand while simultaneously building a strong team?
I think they're one and the same.
Yeah.
I think that's my big takeaway.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I think we were so mindful of, you know, we wrote the brand guidelines, we wrote the mission and the values, and, you know, we talked about who we were as a brand, what our voice sounded like, our brand voice, and, you know, our photography style, and all these things that go into building the brand image and the strategy. But then we made sure that we communicated that to the team, that they understood who we wanted to be, where we were going. Everyone from, you know, part-time front desk staff to instructor to management kind of was on board and aligned with that. And I think that's been really helpful for us throughout building a business. If you don't have a great team experience, it's really hard to have a great guest experience. And so I think that's just been really important for us and in any business. So yeah, I think that's been a critical part for us.
Yeah, your clients feel it. Your clients can feel when the people who work in the space are happy to be there versus not.
100%. It's why, you know, I was talking to someone recently who works for a hotel, and we were just chatting about the importance of the team experience. And they were talking about how when they recruit even the housekeeping staff, they really focus on people that are warm and friendly, sort of have that natural, like more outgoing personality. Because when you run into someone in the hallway or when somebody, you know, comes into your room, you want that to be a positive experience and you want that to be an extension of your brand.
Absolutely.
So I think it's true in any in-person experience. You have to be so mindful of the people that you're bringing in and make sure that they're really on board with what you're trying to build.
Yeah. It actually speaks to, you know, David's original instinct of hiring you. We've done that a lot in our business as well. I guess I would be an example of that as well, is you can teach someone skills. You cannot, you know, you can train someone on how to be more polished and speak in, you know, a more elevated way, but it's really hard to train people on the intangible, you know, personality aspects of leadership.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
Agreed. I think someone once told me it's a question of skill versus will.
Yes. I love that.
That's really stuck with me. I think that's and very like in line with what you're saying. It's there's certain things that are really hard to teach.
Yes.
Especially if there's no will to learn it.
Yes.
So I think with the right leadership and the right guidance, and just making sure that there's clarity around what the expectations are. I think that most people are willing to get on board and work towards improving areas that they don't currently possess.
No, absolutely. I say to my team all the time, like, please, if you see something that is not quote unquote in your job description, but would help elevate our patient client experience, come to me.
Yeah.
If you can make a change on the spot, do it.
Yes.
Like, trust your own instincts. If you see, somebody could be served well by doing something, do it, and we'll course correct the protocol later.
Yeah.
And it's, the people who are willing to do that I find the strongest longevity with. Those are the people you get the best feedback about, that are the most promotable.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that so much.
That's great. I love that you do that with your team.
Oh yeah. I'm big on, and it's funny that you mentioned hospitality, because it's like a funny little story, but I was a marketing manager in undergrad and grad, but in college, one of my roommates was a hospitality major.
Okay.
Megan actually was as well.
I was going to say, yeah, was that Megan?
It wasn't Megan. It was another friend. And she was going, the hospitality group, we were at Florida State, was going on a trip to New York. And I just loved New York.
Yeah.
I would take any opportunity I could to go to New York. And she was like, join the hospitality club. And we could go to New York together. So I joined the hospitality club. I had no idea, like, I had never had an interest in hotels or hospitality as a whole, but I learned so much on this trip.
Sure.
And one of the biggest things I learned was, it was either at the Ritz or the Four Seasons. I think it was the Four Seasons. They give every employee, janitors included, like every employee that works for the brand, the ability to make a decision for the guest experience, I believe up to $1,500.
Yes.
And I thought that was so profound.
So smart.
Because as a guest, especially nowadays, I travel so much, and it bothers me when there's something that, could be elevated and the person working with me doesn't have the freedom to make the change on the spot.
Right.
It really downgrades your experience as a guest, as opposed to when you're staying at a Four Seasons, you feel it.
Yes.
And you feel that the team working there, they feel empowered.
Yes.
Because they are empowered.
It feels like you're in their space.
Yes.
Because you are.
Yes.
So it feels like true home style hospitality.
Yes.
Because they have some authority and autonomy over what they're delivering, which is
totally
incredible. I stayed at a postnatal care retreat here in Toronto called Alma Care.
Cool.
Which is amazing.
Right after birth?
Right after birth.
Oh, how
so
cool.
I don't have family here.
Okay.
My husband's Korean. It's very common in Asian culture to sort of have this, postnatal care routine.
I've heard of this.
Okay. So there's this incredible company here called Alma who started a retreat, but as you're talking, something came to mind, which was I was there. I had just had a baby. It was maybe the second or the third night we were there.
Yeah.
And she just wouldn't sleep.
Oh.
And so I got up and my husband's trying to sleep. So I left the room.
He's there with you?
He's there with me. So
nice.
It's, the two of us, the baby.
Okay.
It's inside a hotel.
Cool.
So I just go for a walk with the baby and we go down to the lobby. I forget why I wanted to go down there. I think they had like cucumber water or something, which sounded really nice. Mm-hmm. So I go down and the receptionist is there, the front desk attendant is there. And he sees me with the little baby and he's chatting with me and just like asking how I'm like just engaging me, which was also so nice. Mm-hmm. And then he offered me a chocolate bar. He said, choose anything you want from this. I was like, okay, yeah, just charge to my room. He said, no charge, just, but it's that little,
yes.
What was it? A $10 bar of chocolate.
Truly.
If I ever have guests, like if I ever have visitors that come to Toronto, I always recommend that hotel now. Mm-hmm. Like if I ever have to stay in a hotel in Toronto, I'm going to stay, so it's that little moment mm-hmm. that makes such a big impact mm-hmm. and that you remember and you talk about.
You really do.
Yeah.
Speaking of the chocolates at the Tonic Spa, 10 out of 10.
Okay, yay. So glad to hear that. It's every little detail.
It is. It's a little detail. And the gut healing tea, same thing.
Yes.
10 out of 10. It was exactly
Beautiful.
like, it was just so warming and wonderful.
Love. That's great.
I love that. I love that story. And I think there's so much. There's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend.
I'm going to add it to my list.
And the whole concept of it is the author who runs a Michelin-starred hotel ends up hiring a team called Dream Makers. And because it was such a coveted reservation to get a reservation at his restaurant, they would go out of their way in quote unquote unreasonable ways for their clients.
Love that.
Or their guests. And I mean, talk about referring a friend.
Yes.
These people would talk about their experiences for decades. It was like to the point, like he would, hear that the little girl coming, it was her birthday, and they came because she wanted to go to the American Girl doll store or whatever it's called. And they would have, like a little American Girl doll on her dessert, or like something even more impactful, just something so personal that they so clearly went out of their way for. It goes like that is the best marketing you can do.
Oh my goodness, 100%.
Yes.
100%. And yeah, what an incredible testament to the brand that is how, you can't even describe that emotion. You can't manufacture that. So just that authentic, genuine, human to human connection.
Exactly. And so human.
Yeah, so human. And this, just I see you moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. Okay, before we wrap up, I have a quick rapid fire round.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Okay. What is your favorite workout at Sweat and Tonic?
Currently reformed.
Same.
Yeah.
Taught by Megan.
Shout out.
Shout out. No, it was so good though. I loved reformed. I'm such a Legree.
Yes.
Reformer Pilates.
Yes.
Favorite tonic spa treatment?
Ooh. The hydrofacial.
Ooh, okay. I love a hydrofacial.
Love a good hydrofacial.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll do that next time. Dream city for a Sweat and Tonic location.
Ooh. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before, but having both spent time in New York, I'm going to say New York.
Oh,
yeah.
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 I know. I'm always like,
I know.
My next trip to New York. I'm always planning my next one.
There's just no city like it.
Where in the city do you think you would put it?
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a harder question.
I know.
Where wouldn't we put how many?
True.
Yeah. I mean, there have been some pretty cool things popping up in Flatiron.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I feel like Flatiron is like the new like wellness hub.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
there.
but there's also a lot going on there. So
true.
Maybe it's good to be somewhere else.
I know. I was thinking maybe like or Tribeca would be like a nice area.
Yeah. Tribeca, Soho.
Yeah.
There's always, every side has a special place in my heart.
Yes. I was going to say one downtown location, one uptown.
Yes.
If we're getting, if we're dreaming big.
I know. We're dreaming big. Yes. Yeah.
Do you think you and your family would ever move outside of Toronto?
I don't know. Maybe at some point. Yeah. I think before the show, we talked a bit. I've moved around quite a lot. So that's not anything that I'm unfamiliar with I don't want to say I go where the breeze takes me, but I think I'm just really open to new experiences and opportunities. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What other wellness brand do you think has done a great job in the last 5 years?
Love that. There's so many. The first one, honestly, that comes to mind, and maybe it's because we were talking about the Toronto wellness scene so much before this, was Othership.
Yes.
I think they have just done such a beautiful job with community.
Yes.
I mean, they've done a beautiful job with many things, but I think community has just been incredible. And the way that their whole team shows up for their brand is really impressive and meaningful.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels very authentic.
Yes.
And it feels like every person is hired very intentionally. Every touch point for the guest experience is very intentional.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
One design detail in Sweat and Tonic that makes you smile every time.
Just one. The first one that comes to mind, and this is maybe silly to some people, I was in the sauna during mat leave.
Okay.
In Tonic Spa on our beautiful pool deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laying on my back and I look up and the lights are perfectly aligned with the slats.
Yes.
You put things like that in your drawings.
Yes.
You talk about it with the construction team, but it rarely actually gets executed.
Yes.
And I took a picture and I texted our site supervisor right after who worked so tirelessly to build our dream space.
I love that.
And said, thank you so much. This means so much. And it does, because it's a really, really small example, but it's all of those little details that add up to creating such a memorable, impactful environment.
It truly is. It's the last 10%.
Yes.
That, in my opinion, sets apart exceptional experiences from just good ones.
Yes, agreed.
A boutique fitness trend that you love?
Co-working spaces.
Yes. A boutique fitness trend that you'd like to see fade out?
Annual contracts.
Yes. You're great at rapid fire, by the way. Go-to way to recharge after a long week?
Ooh. I'm going to do a combo here.
Okay.
Ride class followed by a yin and meditation class.
Oh, I love Yes.
Sweat it out and then go inward.
Yeah. I love that combo as well. It's hard for me sometimes to go inward if I haven't
Yes.
just sweat it out, got my heart pumping prior. If you weren't working in wellness, what field would you be in?
Oh, probably still focused in interior design and just, again, I think for me, just creating these really memorable, impactful experiences is what lights me up. So being able to do it in an industry that I also really enjoy and I'm so passionate about is great. But yeah, I think I'll always have a toe in that for sure.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to chat with you.
It was so nice. Where can people find you and the brand?
sweatandtonic.com.
Okay.
At Sweat and Tonic.
Okay.
And I'm at Morgan C. Thomas.
Love it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This podcast was brought to you by Pureform, a comprehensive wellness center in Boca Raton, Florida. The website is pureformhealth.com, or you can find us on Instagram at pureformhealth. Feel free to message us with any questions, and note that you can connect with our providers for consultations over Zoom, from everything from stem cell therapy to hormone replacement therapy and peptide therapy. That's it for this episode of the Healthspan Collective. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to rate, review, subscribe, and send it to a friend. We'd also love to connect with you on Instagram. Follow the podcast at Healthspan Collective and me at Nicole J. Doran. And leave us a comment on our latest post, letting us know what you'd like us to cover next.